How y'all doing today? I'm going to be talking about horror movie multi-packs today. Lots of horror movies have been released on multi-movie packs. Some are hit or miss, but we're going to cover some of those today. So the first one I have here is Sci-Fi Creature Feature Pack from the Maneater series. There's about 30 of these movies now. And these are actually 6 of some of the best ones that they've done. Swamp Devil is like a plant that's like in a swamp, sort of like a Swamp Thing, but this is actually more interesting in my opinion. Sea Beast are these little another one on here. These little creatures. I don't know what you're supposed to call those things, but it's pretty cool. Rise of the Gargoyles. It's one of only a few gargoyle movies that are out there. Another really well done film. Definitely the best one on here, if I had to pick just one, would be Wyvern, the dragon one. It's not only is it one of the best dragon movies ever made, but it's one of the best creature features ever made. Sand Serpents is sort of like a Tremors type deal with Jason Gedrick in it. That's pretty good. Roadkill's like a bird, like a curse thing, giant bird, but it's pretty cool. They're all done really well. This is a little more expensive than some of y'all might want to spend on creature features. Didn't bother me though. I mean, it was only it was under $15 on Amazon, brand new. But here's another one. It's got a few more movies from the, 3 of them are from the Maneater series. Croc, starring Michael Madsen. Really well done film. Dire Wolf, also known as Dino Wolf. That is not a Maneater film, but it's done really well. It's Maxwell Caulfield's in it. I think that was the fellow that was in Grease 2. I don't know. I didn't really care for Grease 2. Maneater with Gary Busey. Can't go wrong with Gary Busey. That's Tiger. That's the first film of the Maneater series, I might add. Grizzly Rage was another one. It's done really well. I didn't know what to expect before I watched that one, but it was actually really good. And Eric Estrada and Chupacabra versus the Alamo. Also, that one's not a Maneater film, but could definitely classify as one. I actually had that taped on a VHS tape before I found it. And I actually found this right here, this disc 5-pack. It was at Kmart before it closed, but I found it about 2 months before it was scheduled to be released, so somehow copy slipped out and it was in the $5 bin. And I remembered that, and I was like, wait a minute, that's not supposed to be released until July, and here it is, May. And I know I seen one in that bin, so I went back. Next time I went to Kmart and I got it. Yeah, this was a few years ago, obviously. Next one is these are a little higher. Well, these ones, some of these might have had a bigger budget than some of those other ones. Frankenfish. It's a Snakehead one. Lake Placid 3, which is the third one in the Lake Placid series. Colin Ferguson from that show Eureka, the sci-fi show Eureka, stars in it. Yancey Butler, who played in what the hell was that damn show called? Witchblade, I think, something like that. But she's in it. She's also in 4 and 5. 5 being Lake Placid versus Anaconda, so that's the crossover if you've ever seen that one. It's really good. Well, they're all really good. Loch Ness Terror with Brian Krause of those Bandit movies, those newer Bandit movies, Bandit Goes Country and whatnot. Also on Charmed, not something I ever watched. it's good, like these little dinosaur creatures like the Loch Ness Monster, and there's multiple ones of them because it has babies, but it's done really well. It's another film I've watched countless times. Probably the weirdest one on here is Piranha 2: The Spawning, which is directed by James Cameron, this being the first film that he directed. It's different. It's the genetically mutated piranha that can fly. I know it's as crazy as it sounds, but it's done really well. I mean, considering it was done in the early 80s, it's a sequel to the 1978's Piranha, which is definitely a classic. But it's a good 4-pack, and that one's... Don't know how easy it is to get this one anymore. I assume it's fairly reasonable. But either way, it's worth it if you're into creature features or like stuff like this, like I am. You'll notice a lot of these are creature features. But this is horror movie multi-packs. Okay, these are all Asylum films. Five-Headed Shark Attack, Planet of the Sharks, and Empire of the Sharks, which is a sequel to Planet of the Sharks. Now, I didn't know what to expect because I had never seen those Empire or Planet ones all the way through, but they're actually really good. Five-Headed Shark Attack is, of course, the sequel to Two-Headed and Three-Headed Shark Attack. It's good. It's not as good as the first two, but it is really good, and it's like I think like $9.99 for this, so it's worth it considering it just came out last year. Get all 3 movies on one disc, so it's a space saver. That's why it's good to have these multi-movie packs, because it saves space on your shelf. Like if you can get like the first like 3 Sharknadoes in one Blu-ray pack or one DVD pack, and it only takes up one space on your shelf, as opposed to having them 3 separate discs and 3 separate cases, which takes up 3 spaces. Which, if you're limited on space, that's why I try to look for stuff that saves space whenever possible. This next one here is a mixed bag. Kraken Tentacles of the Deep. It's pretty good. Raging Sharks with Corin Nemec. And who else is in this? Corbin Bernstein. The guy gets around, don't he? Now, I should... thing I got to tell you about Raging Sharks is it has a twist to it. It's not your typical shark movie. It doesn't start out like your typical shark movie, so don't be alarmed when you're watching it and you're like at the beginning of it. But it is really good. I liked it. And Kraken Tentacles of the Deep is really good too. Now, Howling 4, the original Nightmare. Like most of the other Howling movies, it's good, but not great. I know there's people that love that series. I mean, I got nothing against it. It's just, they are what they are, I guess. But it was good for what it was, even though it was essentially a rehash of the original, from what I understand. But on a multi-movie pack like this, it's fine. Now, Night Shadow was probably... It's not the greatest film, but again, on something like this, considering that stuff that has in it, like there's a kid that has like a real Freddy glove in it, and he does like martial arts and stuff, so that definitely adds to it. But this is it's a good multi-movie pack, nonetheless. It's 4 movies, and you can get that for under $5. This one I couldn't even find listed on Amazon, but I found it at Goodwill, brand new, sealed for $2. Dead Sea's probably the weakest one on here. Well, second weakest one on here, actually. It's not bad, but you don't really see a lot of the creature in it. For what it is, it's good. Robo-Croc's definitely the gem on here, though. That's definitely easily the best one on here. And you can't get that cheap by itself, so if you find this for like a couple dollars like I did, it's worth it getting it this way. Super Tanker, I don't really know why the hell that's on here. It says creature features. There's no creature in this. It has nothing to do with the creature feature. I mean, whoever put that on here must have never bothered to view it. Somebody mistook it for an Asylum film, but it's not. None of these four are Asylum films. And the second best one on here, though, is Drakano, which is a dragon one. Again, that Corey Nemec guy's in it. He's also in Robo-Croc, I forgot to mention. But it's done really well. It's not quite as good as I thought it was going to be compared to like Wyvern, but Wyvern set the bar really high, so that's forgivable. But get to the last one here. This one's got 8 films on it. Night Fright's like this weird creature one. But it's made in the 1970s, but I really like that one. It was done well. Definitely has the right atmosphere for it. You watch these movies in the dark at night, and it's a lot better. The atmosphere really helps it. Whereas if you're watching it during a bright sunny day, just sometimes you have to have the right mood, to watch horror movies. It just doesn't make much sense watching them during the day, at least to me anyway. So I mean, I'll watch all kinds of stuff during the day, but I'll watch the horror movies at night. Just has a better feel to it. Snow Beast, the original 1978 with Bo Svensson. It's really good. Again, 1970s movie, 77 I believe. Pretty good for the time it was made. Special effects being what they were. Again, not great, but just like a lot of movies weren't great back then. Just like Jaws 1 and 2, great films, but you can tell the shark was fake. Island of the Dinosaur, I didn't watch that one yet, so I can't really judge that one. Mako Jaws of Death is another shark movie from the 70s. That was pretty good. This guy goes after people that hurt sharks, so it portrays sharks as the victims, in which they kind of are, because most of them don't bother anybody, but anybody that hurts a shark or tries to exploit the shark, he goes and gets. So it's pretty good. Beneath the 12 Mile Reef is with Robert Wagner and Gilbert Rowland. It's from 1954, I believe. It's where they try to get these sponges from the bottom of the ocean. There's like a giant squid attack in it, which is pretty cool. That's why that's on here. It's not a straight up creature feature, but it's a good old film nonetheless. I enjoyed it. And on a multi-movie pack like this is from the Advantage. This one's really not easy to get, but you can get a used copy from Amazon for a fairly reasonable price if you want it. Blackwater Gold. That one I don't really recall, but Ricardo Montalban's in it, the guy that played Mr. Rourke on Treasure. What the hell is that show called? Fantasy Island. Sorry. Fantasy Island, Treasure Island, same thing. But I guess it's got like shark attacks and stuff in it, so that's why that's on here. Giant Gila Monster is from 1959. It's the original. It's definitely a cult classic. Is it the greatest? No. Now, there is a remake called Gilla. And it's one of the instances where I could say the remake's a lot better. They could do a lot more with the remake than they couldn't in the original. For one thing, like, you hear, like, actual oldies in it. You also... There's a guy that drives a 55 Chevy Gasser that's similar to Bob Falf's in American Graffiti. And you have a guy that drives John Miller's little Deuce Coupe in it, too. So it's got, like, nods to American Graffiti in it, among other things. So Gilla's a hell of a film. But Giant Gila Monster, even by itself, it's worth having. Because it doesn't go for that much, and it's definitely a cult classic. Don Sullivan's in it, and he's also got a special appearance in the remake, in the newer one. So, and the last one on here is Night of the Sharks with Treat Williams. Not a straight up horror movie, but it was done pretty well. I saw it years ago because I haven't gotten to every movie on there yet, but I know it's pretty good. But those 8 movies on there, I mean, with the exception of Island of the Dinosaurs one, I don't really know much about that one. It's definitely worth having. Okay, and the last one here, I'm not going to name all 50 movies. This is a 50 movie pack. There's several of these now, but I'll just name some of the highlights that I'm familiar with. But you can get these pretty cheap. And there's like 2 or 3 movies on each side, and there's 12 discs. So they include the original Carnival of Souls, Atomic Age Vampire, Creature from the Haunted Sea, that was an odd one, Nightmare Castle with Barbara Steele, White Zombie with Bela Lugosi, The Terror with Boris Karloff and Jack Nicholson, Revolt of the Zombies with Dean Jagger, Giant Gila Monster. Like I said, these movies, when they're in public domain, they end up on these. Maniac. Don't really know that one. Killer Shrews with James Best, who played Roscoe P. Coltrane on The Dukes of Hazzard. He also played with John Schneider and Rick Hurst in the sequel, Return of the Killer Shrews. Also a really good film. Now, if you get that, it comes with a restored version of the original Killer Shrews as a bonus. Corpse Vanishes with Bela Lugosi. The original Night of the Living Dead is on here with Judith O'Dea. Hunchback of Notre Dame and Phantom of the Opera, both with Lon Chaney Sr. A lot of his films were lost films, Lon Chaney Sr., so to have 2 of the horror movies he did right on here is pretty cool. Now, I should mention that Lon Chaney Sr. was in silent movies, but silent horror is different. The original Little Shop of Horrors is on here. The Bat, House on Haunted Hill, Last Man on Earth, all with Vincent Price are on here. Dementia 13, Phantom of 2,000 or 10,000 Leagues. Whoops. Like I said, it's a multi-movie pack. There's different ones that have different ones on them. There's some that have newer horror movies on them and stuff like that. But you can get them pretty cheap. Basically, though, if somebody's trying to charge you $10, $15, $20 for a used copy, then it ain't worth it. These didn't go for very much to begin with. So, but they're definitely worth it if you like horror movies and you don't have a lot of space or whatever. Because I like old horror movies too. I mean, it don't matter to me if it's good. The thing about this 50 movie pack, though, is you're gonna have some duds on it, obviously, but the good ones on there, which is most of the ones I mentioned, they definitely outweigh the bad ones. So you can definitely get your money's worth either way. But if you like horror, creature features, and stuff like that, then You can find them at like Walmart and stuff, Goodwill, or thrift stores, yard sales. So I know some of these have been discontinued. Like I said, this Advantage Collection Creature Features, that one's been discontinued. That other one, the one that's got like the Dead Sea and stuff on it, I know that one's not even listed on Amazon. I couldn't even find it on eBay or anything to research it. So I don't know, but definitely worth checking out if you're into that horror movie packs and stuff like that. And they don't have just horror movies though. I got one. Let's see if I can find it here. Oh, it's right here. Give you kind of an honorable mention now. This is from a different movie pack. It's like an action movie pack. What I did was I kept the 2 discs that had the old hot rod and car movies on it, and I kind of made my own like multi-movie pack. Now, in Hot Pursuit, Double Nickels, which is like a follow-up to the original Gone in 60 Seconds, 1974 Gone in 60 Seconds. Sort of like a follow-up to that. The original Fast and the Furious from 1955 is on here. 54, whenever the hell it came out. Yeah, 55, sorry. Killing Cars. It's probably the only dud on here. Blonde Comet, Hot Rod Girl, Devil on Wheels, Born to Be Wild, and Choppers. And 43 The Petty Stories from another disc, but I put it in here. It also has a bonus film called The Wrestler, which features actual wrestlers such as Dick the Bruiser, Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, superstar Billy Graham, Dick Murdoch, Vince McMahon Sr., Edward Asner's in it, stars in it. I've never actually watched that Wrestler one, but I assume it's good. But I guess that about wraps it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's been a while since I've actually filmed a video, but there were times over the winter when I just didn't feel good and stuff like that. But I'll get back to y'all as soon as I can. Check out my other videos. Subscribe if you haven't already. That's about it. And hope you all have a nice day.